In 4 years, swings in honor past Hungary's strongman Admiral Horthy. Young men of the new German Reich welded into a mighty war machine.
Charlottesville was a turning point, deeply dangerous.
In this documentary, we will unveil the ethical and historical implications of anti-Semitism and the parties involved. We interviewed a rabbi, a PhD researcher of Sidi, an imam, and my grandfather to help us answer our questions. The imam did not want to be on camera, so we have an audio recording of him. But first, what exactly is anti-Semitism?
So anti-Semitism is a very ugly phenomenon, which has been on the European and Middle Eastern scene for quite some time. Three of my four grandparents were murdered because of anti-Semitism, because they came from Germany and they were killed by the Nazis in the Second World War. So both my parents, of course, they were victims of anti-Semitism.
You know, anti-Semitism, it's a very difficult word, because if you see where it's coming from, it's from the 19th century that somebody said, okay, it's anti-Semitism. Semitism is a language, that's also Arab, is also a Semitic language, and Aramaic is also a Semitic language. And if you say anti all those languages, it doesn't have to do anything with Judaism. Before it was also anti-Judaism, not anti-Semitism. So it's a sort of, a word that after a while everybody's going to use for a concept that exists here in the Netherlands, but it's not what it means. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, okay, you use it all the time, so everybody's going to use it. But if you think about the origin and what it really means, it's completely something different. But however, you know, we use it now for anti-Judaism, anti-Jewish.
So everything included, basically.
Exactly.
So anti-Semitism is the hate against Semitic people and the language, where over the time the definition of anti-Semitism changed from the hate against Semitic people to the hate against the Jews.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Now that we know this, a new question comes up to mind. What is the cause of anti-Semitism and where does it originate from?
But if we're really looking into the numbers right now, what is really the anti-Semitism and where it's coming from, we see mostly that it's conspiracy theory. So people believing that Jews are trying to take over the world, Jews are the cause of corona pandemic. So everything that's always what I sort of try to describe to people, like what we will see right now of anti-Semitism is all the things that are happening right now that we cannot explain. Migration, we have a refugee problem that we're trying to find a solution for. We had the pandemic, we have people who don't have enough money, and you know, it's not, we don't have the explanation on zich, you know, we don't have the explanation here laying, okay, this is the cause and this is the solution. So what people are searching is a solution that's easier. And what can you explain, for example, with corona or migration? Oh, it's probably Israel, the Jews who are doing this. So the Jews are the cause, and that's also what we have the solution. And sort of scapegoat, sort of, we need somebody to explain our problems in society. And that's mostly that you see, oh, that's the Jews.
Algemeen was het zo, Joden waren mensen eigenlijk die je niet kon vertrouwen. Ja, dat gevoel had je dus, dat was er. Als kind zijnde hoorde je dat ook. En,
van de radio of zo?
Ja, van alles, laat ik het zo zeggen. Dus voor de oorlog begon, was er al een beetje antipathie tegen de Joden.
Ja. En waar denk je dat vandaan komt?
Dat weet ik niet. Ze hadden wel een andere manier van omgaan met elkaar. Maar ik weet voor de rest niet waar dat vandaan komt.
Antisemitism has many faces, right? Antisemitism has, of course, depends also on the place on this planet where it manifests itself. If you're talking about Europe, right, and we are Europe over here, the biggest source of anti-Semitism, right, over the ages, over the millennia, was of course the Christian church, who accused the Jews of having killed Jesus, which is not true. The church needed a victim, needed a body of people, right, to justify itself, and we were the easy victim, the Jews. So the church has been the machine of anti-Semitism for nearly 2,000 years. And that has created deep undercurrents in many, many European nations. And as a climax of that was of course Nazi Germany, because the undercurrent of anti-Semitism, created by the church, found a way to express itself in Nazi Germany. And we are facing that the same ugly face of anti-Semitism again now in Israel.
The rabbi actually says something very important here, as anti-Semitism plays an important role in conflicts within the Middle East. They have Israel and Palestine together in a conflict, where anti-Semitism plays a crucial role.
This conflict between Israel and Palestine has lasted for a very long time. And because of this conflict, anti-Semitic feelings have been rising within the Middle East for the past century. According to the Imam and the Rabbi, anti-Semitism does not contribute to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, but instead, the conflict contributes to more anti-Semitism in the world.
The difference between the terms is like this. That anti-Semitism means I'm against the Jews as a race or as a group of people. Anti-Zionism means that I'm against the existence of Israel. Actually, it means I'm against what the Zionist movement stands for, stood for, and what it created and what it achieved, right? So technically, you might be able to separate those two terms. That means de jure, maybe, de facto not. Why not? Zionism came into being because Jews were persecuted in Russia, in Poland, in many other countries in Europe, in Germany in the middle of the 19th century, in France, In Holland we had a reasonably peaceful existence, but in Hungary, was it Czechoslovakia, in Romania, Yugoslavia, all these countries, anti-Semitism existed. At a certain moment, some people got up and said, look, why should we, as Jews, be being persecuted forever? Like we have been persecuted for the past 1800 years, as it said 150 years ago. Why should we go on and suffer like that? We have our own country, which is us, which is ours. And if you just open the Bible, you'll find it. Any believing Christian in the Old Testament knows exactly what the Bible says about Israel that was given to the Jews by God and it belongs to us. There's no discussion about that. No discussion about that. The proofs of our existence in Israel there's also no doubts about it. It's our country. So they said, why should this go on? Why don't we just try to go back to Israel? Israel, which was at that moment a barren land, with the people who were living there was barely surviving, and there was nothing there, nearly nothing there. He said, let's go back and let's try to build up a new life in that country. That's what it did. Why? Because of anti-Semitism in Europe, because it was widespread and people had no peaceful life. And also the same thing applied to England, the same thing applied in America. So out of this anti-Semitism of the 9th century came a movement of Zionism to solve this, right? So if you decide, not you, if a person decides I'm anti-Zionism, then you negate and deny the origins of anti-Semitism, and you actually say, you Jews, you should continue, to be hurt and have pain and suffer violence. It's good, just go on suffering. Watch, and therefore, right, I agree if somebody says anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Maar binnen de islamitische gemeenschap is er wel het besef dat er een verschil is tussen het Zionisme. Ja. Dus mensen die een land komen bezetten, dat zijn degenen die wij beschouwen als Zionisten. En wij beschouwen niet elke Jood die woont in Palestina als een Zionist. Hè? Dus voor de duidelijkheid, niet elke Joodse man die woont in Palestina is een Zionist. Ja. Want voordat Israël bestond woonden er ook Joden. Dus dat is niet de definitie van de Zionist. Hè? De Zionist is degene die bezet. Waarom antisemitisme, als het aanwezig is onder de moslimgemeenschap, moet je in ieder geval weten dat in de geschiedenis hebben moslims en Joden hebben samengeleefd onder de islamitische heerschappij. En dat is een hele lange periode goed gegaan. En er bestond geen antisemitisme onder de islamitische gemeenschap, helemaal niet. Die was er niet. Maar die bestond er wel in het Westen, onder de christelijke gemeenschap in Europa. Ja. Hier was de antisemitisme aanwezig. En de Joden vluchtten uit Europa naar de landen waar de moslims regeerden. In de laatste tijd de laatste periode van de geschiedenis was dat het Ottomaanse Rijk. Daar zijn de Joden altijd heen gevlucht. Vanwege de vijandelijkheden die plaatsvonden onder de christelijke gemeenschap. Ja. Dus de Joden is altijd een dak boven het hoofd geboden op het moment dat zij het moeilijk hadden onder de christenen. En de Jodenhaat die is ontstaan, of die nu in de laatste jaren is ontstaan, en die is misschien verschoven ook naar de moslims of naar het Midden-Oosten. Dat is geen Jodenhaat, dat is echt haat vanwege de bezetting. Ja. Dus als die haat er is, dan is dat vanwege de bezetting. Want in 1948 of in 1947 is de staat Israël ontstaan. Die is ontstaan op grond wat de Palestijnen beefden. Vanaf toen is er dus vijandelijkheid ontstaan. Ja. Dat is dus puur vanwege de bezetting. Dus wij zien wel een verschil tussen het Jodendom en het Zionisme. Dat is wat we zien, maar we zijn er dus geen specialisten. Dus we weten niet of dat onderscheid er echt werkelijk is. Ja.
Als gewone buren en gewone mensen tussen de dorpelingen en de stedelingen te
behandelen.
Ja, te behandelen.
Ja. En denk je dat het zal verminderen in de toekomst?
Ik denk het wel. Ik denk het wel, dat we toch wel leren om met elkaar omgaan, dat we niet allemaal hetzelfde zijn. Ja, daar geloof ik wel in.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. In the future, yeah, I wish I knew. It's a very hard question. What we see right now, that's the numbers are increasing, but we're trying everything in our power to really mostly stagnate it, that it's not increasing anymore, but preferably like that it's going down again, the numbers. What we have to do is an easier question, because that's mostly education. I think that's so important that, it's impossible for me to understand that in some high schools and also afterwards, for example, MBO, or that people don't get history or something about Judaism, or, because if you don't know anything about the group, you also are going to sort of make up things about them because you don't know, because you've never seen them. Oh, Jews have a big nose. Yeah, I've never seen a Jew, so probably it's true, So I think, you have to really experience also the Jewish community to really counter your own prejudices. You know, I think that's so important. So I think education, and we as Jewish community try also to be more open to, you know, like really get people also like, okay, this are we, you know, we are not dangerous. You can, you know, so it's
so basically to educate people about.
Yeah, but
good question. Now we have a belief as Jews, that actually we find anti-Semitism already in the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, where Jews were being hated. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on. So it's a phenomenon, and we have, strange enough, we have learned to live with it. We believe also that we are waiting also for the end of times, for the Messiah to come, our Messiah. And we believe that only when he arrives and he will bring peace to the world, a recognition to the world for the Jews, for us, that the moment when anti-Semitism will finally stop. At the same time, there is an appeal, of course, to any person who wants to claim that he is intellectually unbiased and that he has a normal state of mind, and has a fair mind, that he realizes that in a just and proper and good society is no room for anti-Semitism, and that anti-Semitism destroys the society. And like Lord Jonathan Sacks said in the House of Lords, and that's a very important statement, and he says like this: if anti-Semitism wins, humanity suffers. What did he mean with that? And I'll conclude. He meant like this: if anti-Semitism wins, it means that people can say, kill the Jews, hurt the Jews, steal from them, move them out, do to them whatever you want. That's what that, yeah? That means that is then a license to kill, to hurt, to steal, to push out, to spit, whatever. That's a license for humanity, for those people, right, to do all those things. It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. It will continue, right? And that's what we have seen in Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany licensed, said it's okay to hate the Jews. And look at the destruction Nazi Germany caused across the world. Yeah, the greatest destruction humanity ever faced, right? That's what I'm saying is, we pray that God will end anti-Semitism, but we also hope that anybody on this planet who has some sense in his mind understands that if you let anti-Semitism go its course, then the Jews will suffer, but in the end all of humanity will suffer.
Ja, bij dit soort conflicten wordt het alleen maar erger. En hoe wij het kunnen verminderen, ja, is vooral die twee dingen van elkaar scheiden. Want de Zionisten zelf, die proberen het Jodendom en het Zionisme, dat proberen ze vaak in één adem te noemen.
Ja.
Zodat het hetzelfde lijkt. Dus zodra je anti-Zionistisch bent of anti-bezetting, anti-Zionistische bezetting, dat je dan wordt gezien als een antisemiet.
Ja.
En ik denk dat wij juist ons best moeten doen om die twee dingen juist te gescheiden.